There's a reason she stops texting the nice guy and starts obsessing over the one who barely says a word. It's not about money. It's not about charming or being funny. It's about something deeper, something primal. There are hidden triggers in a woman's psychology that, when understood, flip a switch in her brain. And the men who use them, not manipulators but aware, grounded men, become unforgettable. You're about to learn 7 of those triggers. Most men don't even know they exist. But once you understand them, you'll never chase again. This video is not about playing games. It's about mastering presence, understanding emotional depth, and walking as the kind of man who doesn't ask for attention. He commands it. These are the same principles modern-day playboys and high-value men apply effortlessly. But we're going deeper, into psychology, into Stoicism, into real masculine identity. If this message wakes something up inside you, support the channel. You'll help other men who are silently struggling find a path back to power. Number 1, she can't lead emotionally, but will if you don't. In every relationship, someone leads and someone follows. Someone sets the emotional tone and someone responds to it. And here's what most men don't understand. If you don't take the emotional lead, she will, but she'll resent it. Not immediately, not obviously, but slowly, deeply, and silently. Women aren't designed to lead the emotional direction of a relationship. They can do it, but it drains them. It takes them out of their natural feminine energy and forces them into a masculine role. And while modern culture might celebrate the independent woman in intimate dynamics, this reversal creates tension, not desire. She wants to feel led emotionally, not controlled, not dominated, led. That means you show up with certainty, you guide interactions, you create structure, you manage the pace, you define what's acceptable and what's not, without being reactive or forceful. You become the container she can relax into, because without that container, she feels like she's drifting, and drifting breeds emotional exhaustion. When a man abdicates emotional leadership, he becomes passive. He starts asking instead of deciding. He starts waiting instead of initiating. He becomes overly careful, trying to avoid conflict, always seeking her input, her reaction, her direction. And this signals to her subconscious, I can't rely on him to hold me. So she steps up. She starts leading conversations. She tests more aggressively. She becomes more emotional, not less. Not because she enjoys it, but because she's trying to create structure in a space where the man should have already built it. And once she's in that position for too long, she can't feel feminine. She can't feel safe. And she can't feel desire. Now, here's the subtle part. Emotional leadership isn't about talking more or taking control of everything. It's about being the calmest, clearest, most centered person in the room. It's about creating emotional direction through stillness, boundaries, and grounded intention. It looks like this. When she's emotional, you don't react. You hold. When the vibe feels off, you address it clearly. When she tests your limits, you don't explain. You reinforce. When she's uncertain, you guide, not to fix but to recenter. This leadership gives her freedom, because now she doesn't have to worry about being the strong one all the time. She doesn't have to think through every dynamic. She can feel, she can soften, she can open, and that's where intimacy grows. So how do you take back emotional leadership? First, stop deferring. If a decision needs to be made, make it. If a boundary needs to be drawn, draw it. Stop outsourcing your responsibility to her. She doesn't want it. She wants to feel you have it handled. Second, be intentional with your energy. Don't just go with the flow if the flow is chaotic. Create emotional momentum. Steer the connection. Lead the dance. Third, speak less, but mean more. Every time you speak from stillness, you build trust. Every time you respond with calm authority, she feels safer. Not because you fixed everything, but because you're not shaken. Finally, remember this. When she feels like she's leading, she might stay. But she won't stay attracted. She'll manage, but she won't desire. She'll commit, but she won't crave. And desire is what makes her respect you, lean into you, and choose you again and again. Step into emotional leadership, not with noise, but with depth, because the man who leads calmly, consistently, and with quiet power becomes the one she never wants to challenge and never wants to lose. Number 2, she fears emotional strength, but respects it deeply. There is a rare kind of man in today's world. A man who feels emotions without reacting to them. A man who is present without performing. A man who can face rejection, pressure, tension, and remain unmoved. That man is dangerous, not because he's violent, but because he cannot be manipulated. And women, whether they admit it or not, are deeply drawn to that emotional strength. Here's the paradox most men never realize. What women say they want, and what emotionally attracts them, are often two different things. She might say she wants someone who's always open, available, understanding. And while those things sound nice, what she feels pulled toward is someone who is not emotionally swayed by her behavior. She will test this without knowing it. She will say something cold and watch your face. She will pull back emotionally and see if you chase. She will go quiet and wait to see if you panic. Not because she wants to hurt you, but because her biology is searching for strength, for certainty, for calm under pressure. She needs to know. Can you hold your center even when I shift mine? Most men fail this test. They react. They ask, "What's wrong?" They overcorrect. They explain themselves. They try to fix her mood with validation. But what they don't see is that every reaction confirms weakness. And weakness is not respected. It's pitied. The men women admire most are the ones who show restraint when it's hardest. The man who doesn't chase when she pulls back. The man who stays calm when she's emotional. The man who listens without jumping in to solve. That presence creates an emotional container. It makes her feel safe. Not because he gives her everything, but because she can't shake him. Emotional strength is not loud. It's not aggressive. It's not indifferent. It's silent confidence. It's your ability to feel everything but reveal only what matters. It's knowing when to speak and when to hold back. It's being rooted in your values, regardless of who's standing in front of you. And yes, this strength can scare her. It confronts her emotional patterns. It removes the control that weaker men hand her. But that fear turns into respect, and respect becomes devotion. Because once a woman sees that you don't flinch in the face of her chaos, you become the man she trusts to lead. So how do you build this emotional strength? Start by delaying your reactions. When something triggers you, pause. Let the urge pass. Breathe, move, reflect. The gap between emotion and reaction is where mastery lives. Next, stop needing emotional clarity from her. Don't chase closure. Don't beg for reassurance. Learn to sit with uncertainty, to hold silence, to walk away without needing to explain. Third, ground yourself in something bigger than her. A mission, a vision, a discipline, something that centers you no matter who walks in or out of your life. Lastly, embrace solitude. The man who can sit alone in peace without needing stimulation becomes the man whose presence is magnetic. He doesn't demand energy. he brings it. Emotional strength isn't about not feeling. It's about not leaking. It's about choosing your response, not being driven by impulse. And when you live this way, she'll feel something in your silence that no amount of talking can replace. Because the man who holds his emotional ground becomes the one she can't shake. And the one she never forgets. Number 3, validation craving. What happens when you don't give her certainty? Women are drawn to certainty in a man, but not when it's handed to them too early. When you constantly reassure her of your feelings, your interest, your desire to be with her, you give her something that's emotionally satisfying, but not emotionally stimulating. Validation feels good, but the over-delivery of it removes one of the most powerful forces in female psychology: suspense. Most men don't realize how deeply women crave emotional stimulation, not just safety, not just kindness, but emotional charge. And part of that charge comes from not knowing exactly where they stand. When you make yourself fully emotionally transparent from the beginning, you remove the thrill. You flatten the experience. You leave her with nothing to reach for. Now understand, this doesn't mean be cold, cruel, or manipulative. It means be emotionally self-controlled. Women are validation-driven by nature. It's how they've survived. It's how they assess their value, their desirability, and their place in a man's emotional world. But the second you make her emotional certainty your full-time job, you become a supplier. Not a mystery, not a challenge, a supplier. And suppliers are not chaste. High-value men operate differently. They don't rush to validate a woman's emotions every time she's unsure. They allow space. They let her feel the absence of constant reassurance, not to play games, but to create depth. Because every time she doesn't hear from you instantly, every time you choose your mission over reassuring her, every time she feels slightly unsure, you give her room to reflect, wonder, and invest emotionally. When you stop constantly giving her certainty, you create tension. And tension fuels desire. Think of any story that held your attention. Every great book, every great movie. What do they all have in common? Suspense? The unknown? The delayed payoff? That's what keeps people engaged. It's the same in emotional dynamics. If she always knows what you're feeling, where you stand, and what your next move is, she disengages. But if she senses your energy without being able to define it, if she feels your interest but can't fully label it, if she sees your power but notices you don't throw it around, she's hooked. So how do you balance this? Be clear in your intentions, but never over-communicate your emotions. Let your energy speak louder than your words. Be kind but mysterious, supportive but unavailable sometimes, interested but not over-invested. And most importantly, remember this: validation that's earned is 10 times more powerful than validation that's handed out. When she works for your attention, when she waits for your response, when she has to reflect on her own behavior to feel close to you, she values you more. Withhold certainty, not out of fear, but out of strength. Let her feel the gravity of your presence, not the comfort of your constant reassurance. Because when you stop giving her what she expects, you start giving her what she desires. Number 4, curiosity addiction. Why mystery is more powerful than charm. Most men think women fall for charm. That if you're witty enough, funny enough, or clever with your words, she'll melt. But the truth is, charm wears off. Words fade. Predictable energy dies fast. What truly sticks in her mind, what makes her think about you for days, is mystery. Women are addicted to curiosity. It's not a conscious addiction, but it's real. It's built into their psychology. When a man becomes too clear, too available, too known, her curiosity dies. And when her curiosity dies, so does her attraction. She needs contrast. She needs to wonder what you're thinking. She needs to feel your presence without always knowing your position. Mystery is not about manipulation. It's about restraint. It's about understanding that less explanation creates more emotion. When you tell her everything, how much you like her, what you're thinking, what your next move is, she gets full emotional clarity. That might feel good for a moment, but it kills tension. And tension is what attraction feeds on. The man who gets remembered is the man who doesn't always respond right away, who doesn't over-explain why he's quiet, who shows interest but never over-communicates it. He allows her to feel uncertain, not because he's careless, but because he's confident enough to let her sit in the unknown. Want to be unforgettable? Make her wonder. Let her feel you pull back slightly, just when she expects you to lean in. Let her question what your silence means, not out of confusion, but intrigue. When she texts, don't reply instantly every time. When she asks about your day, don't give her a full report. Offer a taste, not the full meal. This doesn't mean you should be cold or distant. It means you stop giving away all your energy without her earning it. Curiosity is born in the gaps, in the pauses, in the space between messages, in the moment you look at her and smile, but say nothing. This is where desire builds. Because when she has to guess what you're thinking, when she has to lean in to feel your energy, when she can't fully predict your next move, that's when she starts replaying moments in her mind. That's when she checks her phone twice, just to see if you've said anything. That's when she starts investing emotionally, without you asking her to. Men who are always present, always available, always explaining, become emotionally flat. There's no edge, no contrast, no mystery, and without mystery, there's no depth. The key is this: be fully present in the moment, but leave space between moments. Speak clearly when you do speak, but say less overall. Let your actions, your vibe, and your silence say what words cannot. Because once you become the man she's still trying to figure out, she won't let go. Number 5, challenge obsession. Women crave emotional puzzles, not predictable peace. There's a deep, often misunderstood truth about attraction. Women don't fall for the most emotionally available man. They fall for the most emotionally engaging one. And emotional engagement doesn't come from comfort. It comes from contrast, from challenge, from mystery. It comes from a man who doesn't fit into her emotional routines. Many men believe that by being peaceful, easy, and agreeable, they'll create security, and that this security will lead to attraction. But attraction isn't born in predictability. It's born in the unknown, in the slight edge of tension, in emotional curiosity. When everything is easy, when there's no contrast, when there's nothing to figure out, her interest fades. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you became simple. And simple is forgettable. Women are emotionally complex. They spend their lives decoding signals, reading vibes, analyzing meaning in glances and silences. This is their language, their operating system. So when you make yourself too emotionally available, when there's nothing left to uncover, they disengage. There's nothing left to feel their way through. The men who keep women emotionally hooked aren't the loudest, the strongest, or even the most successful. They're the most layered. The ones who don't hand over all their emotional depth on day one. The ones who give just enough connection to spark curiosity, and then pull back, giving her space to feel the gap. This creates emotional gravity. It creates the dynamic that makes her lean in without knowing why. Being a challenge doesn't mean being disrespectful. It means being multidimensional. It means you're kind, but hard to win. Present, but not always accessible. Interested, but not obsessed. It means you don't chase approval. You let her earn your investment. This is where the psychological trigger comes in. When a woman works to gain your attention, your time, your praise, it has value. But if it's always given without effort, it loses meaning. You become another man she could predict. And women don't desire what they can predict. They desire what keeps them curious. So how do you become the emotional puzzle? Start by pulling back slightly when she expects you to lean in, not out of manipulation, but to maintain balance. Create subtle contrasts. Be warm, then calm. Be expressive, then quiet. Be available, then busy. Let her feel that you are multi-layered, and she's only seen a glimpse. Next, have a life that's bigger than her. A vision that you're chasing so fiercely that even her beauty doesn't pull you off track. When she sees you choosing your mission over her mood, she respects you. And that respect turns into intrigue. That intrigue becomes desire. Lastly, hold back your full emotional expression until it's earned. Let her prove consistency before you show vulnerability. Let her show investment before you increase yours. Women fall in love slowly, and the process must be paced. When you rush, you ruin it. Become the man who stimulates her mind as much as her body. The one she can't quite figure out. The one who creates emotional questions without speaking. Because the man who is too easy to win is easy to forget. And the man who is a challenge, not in attitude, but in depth, is the man she never stops thinking about. Number 6, emotional echo-seeking. She mirrors your inner vibe. A woman rarely responds to your words directly. She responds to your energy, to your presence, to what's beneath the surface of your actions. This is one of the greatest emotional blind spots men suffer from. They think they're being clear because they're saying the right things, but they don't realize their vibe is saying the opposite. And she always picks up on it. Women are biologically wired to read nonverbal signals. They evolved to be emotionally intuitive, not because it's romantic, but because it was a survival skill. They had to feel when something was off, when a man was hiding anger, when danger was near. That sensitivity remains hardwired in them today. And that's why your emotional state matters more than anything else. This is emotional echo-seeking. A woman unconsciously mirrors the emotional signal you're sending. If you feel insecure, she'll act uncertain. If you feel desperate, she'll seem distant. If you're anxious, she'll withdraw. Not because she's trying to hurt you, but because she's responding to what you're broadcasting, not what you're saying. On the other hand, if you show up grounded, calm, present, she softens. If you walk in clear in your purpose, steady in your breath, unrushed in your vibe, she aligns. She reflects you. She tunes to your emotional frequency. She can't help it. So many men try to talk their way into connection. They try to convince, explain, plead, ask, and overshare to gain intimacy. But the truth is, she's already decided how to respond to you the moment she felt you. That energy, your emotional tone, your self-trust, your posture, your eye contact, that's the real message. And it comes through whether you speak or not. This is why emotional self-mastery is so critical. Because if you're carrying insecurity under a smile, she'll feel the insecurity. If you're masking desperation with nice words, she'll feel the desperation. You can't fake your vibe. The good news is this means your power is in your control. You don't have to try harder with her. You have to go deeper into yourself. Your mission is not to make her feel safe. Your mission is to become the kind of man who feels safe within himself. That's the energy she's searching for. That's what she wants to echo. So how do you align your inner world so she reflects something powerful back? Start with your breath. Your breathing reflects your nervous system. Shallow, fast breathing tells her you're not okay, even if your words are smooth. Deep, slow breathing grounds you and grounds her. Then, own your silence. Stop rushing to fill gaps. Let pauses stretch. Stillness creates mystery, power, and control. Speak when it's worth it, not when it's comfortable. Next, carry your body like a man who owns his reality. Shoulders back, chin slightly up, calm eyes, no fidgeting. Movement is energy. She reads every shift. And finally, build a relationship with your emotions, not to express them all the time, but to command them. Know what you're feeling. Own it. Don't run from it. Don't dump it. Manage it like a leader. Because when you manage your emotions, you set the tone, and she will naturally follow that tone. Remember this: she is a mirror. You are the signal. And when you bring chaos, she reflects it. But when you bring calm, true calm, rooted calm, she reflects that too. Be the emotional tone you want to see in her. Because once you own your state, you stop needing her to fix anything. And that's when she starts craving your presence. Number 7. Reaction control. She feels more when you show less. One of the most overlooked forms of masculine power is restraint. Not silence out of fear, not emotional detachment out of trauma, but the conscious ability to hold your reaction when you're triggered. Because when you stop reacting emotionally to a woman's behavior, you step into your final form. A man she cannot control, yet deeply wants to understand. Here's the truth most men miss. The more you react, the more she knows she can move you. And the more she knows she can move you, the less value she places on your presence. Women don't lose respect for men because they feel something. They lose respect when men can't hold themselves together when those feelings rise. Every time you overreact to her pulling away, go cold when she gives you less attention, or chase when she seems distant. You reinforce the message that your emotions are dependent on her approval. And no woman wants to feel like she's responsible for a man's sense of self. On the other hand, when you remain grounded, when you let her change, shift, pull back, test, or go quiet without it breaking your rhythm, she feels something she doesn't feel often. Stability. Not emotional passivity, but centered power. You become a fixed point in her emotional chaos. Something steady she can orbit. That's where real desire is born. Reaction control is more than just not texting when you're angry. It's the internal decision to stay grounded regardless of external behavior. It's when she tries to provoke you, and you smile, not sarcastically, but confidently. It's when she pulls away emotionally, and you don't chase. You breathe, you observe, you continue living like a man who isn't threatened by change. Women will test you emotionally. It's not because they're toxic. It's because they want to feel your depth. They want to know that beneath your surface charm is control, that your strength isn't just physical, it's emotional. So how do you master this? First, practice the pause. When something triggers you, don't react instantly. Give it a moment. Let the emotional wave rise, peak, and fall. Then respond, if necessary. Second, check your intention before any response. Are you reacting to seek closeness To punish her? To control her reaction? If so, pause again. That's your ego. Lead from presence, not panic. Third, build your internal world stronger than your external one. Meditate, train, journal. Do the work when she's not around, so when the tension hits, you're already grounded. And finally, understand that restraint doesn't make you weak. It makes you rare. It means you're not controlled by emotion, but guided by purpose. Women feel more when you show less, not because you're hiding, but because you're filtering, because your energy is intentional, because your response is measured. That discipline doesn't just create respect, it creates obsession. Become the man who moves slow when others rush, who speaks calmly when others shout, who observes when others explain. Because the one who controls the pace controls the entire frame. What you've just learned is not about tactics, it's about truth. These aren't tricks to manipulate women. They're principles to reclaim your masculine identity in a world that's taught you to chase, explain, and overgive. Every chapter you've heard, every weakness we uncovered, was not about exposing women. It was about exposing the habits that make you forget your worth. Because when you stop trying to earn attention, you start commanding respect. When you stop reacting, you start leading. When you understand the emotional map women live in, you stop walking blindly into confusion and begin navigating with power. Women aren't the enemy. They're emotionally complex, responsive beings. But only a grounded, present, emotionally strong man can unlock the part of her that craves to submit, not out of weakness, but out of trust. So the next time you feel the urge to chase, to over-explain, to fix her mood, pause, breathe, return to yourself. That's where your power is. You don't win by chasing her. You win by choosing you and letting her feel the weight of that choice. If you made it to the end of this video, I want you to type one word in the comments. Unstoppable. Because that's what you're becoming. Drop unstoppable if you stayed for every second, so I know who's truly rising. Smash the like button if you're ready to lead with presence, not performance. Subscribe if you want weekly breakdowns like this. Real talk, no fluff, built to sharpen you. Share this video with a brother who's still chasing women who don't respect him. You might just change his life. By supporting this channel, you're helping us reach thousands of men who silently struggle with confusion, heartbreak, and emotional chaos. You're helping bring this wisdom to men who need clarity, not games, grounded truth, not gimmicks, and this is just the beginning. Own your energy, control your response, lead with power. Because the world doesn't need more noise, it needs more men who've remembered their worth.